Fred Fleitz, the former NSC Chief of Staff for the Trump administration, former CIA analyst, and now the senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute. Fred, welcome in. Good afternoon.
Good to be here.
So he declares martial law. Yoon, the president, does not give Washington a heads up. I mean, I'm just thinking here's another signal that no one thinks Joe Biden really deserves to be plugged in or read into any of this. That's a major decision, and now Parliament's voting against him. But the signal on the world stage reads pretty dramatic to me. What about you?
Well, the South Korean president has the authority to declare martial law in cases of national emergency. But what seems to have happened here is that the parliament won an overwhelming majority last spring and has been using its power to indict and to impeach members of the Yoon government and to investigate his family, including his wife. This is not unusual for South Korean politics, and it's also not unusual for former presidents to be indicted and jailed. And it's also not unusual for presidents to abuse martial law authority. So the parliament threw this out. The question now is whether the military and security forces will honor this decision by the parliament. It looks like Yoon doesn't want them to, but we don't know what security forces and military will do.
Right, and that's sort of the tension in the next few hours. You've got Joe Biden in Angola. He says he's getting briefed on the situation. What part of this, too, is the concern of how China may react as well? And what role North Korea is playing here as part of some intelligence operation?
Well, the political disarray in South Korea is not good for regional security. It's harder for the U.S. and for Japan to cooperate with South Korea if their government is in turmoil, and it is in turmoil right now. And if this martial law order falls through, and I think it will, Yoon is certainly going to be impeached and probably will be in jail. And I don't know who will take over for him. And I think this is a shame because I like President Yoon. I thought he would have been a great counterpart for President Trump.
Right.
And Bianca, he actually has been practicing his golf because he was looking forward to playing golf with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
I read that. I remember when he was elected, they were saying he was sort of Trumpish, and people really were welcoming his election. Obviously, they're a big ally for us. North Korea, right there, has getting closer, ties as we see to Russia. They've allowed troops into the conflict in Ukraine. You have to wonder, too, how much of maybe the vulnerable moment here they felt that Yoon was in, that they could swoop in and kind of flex a little. But I think all this is changing very soon, this instability. Yet another thing, though, Donald Trump will be facing as he takes office.
I think if Trump was president, Yoon would have been stronger. The opposition wouldn't have done as well in the midterm elections. Yoon would have had a lot of accomplishments to brag about before the parliamentary elections. But the Biden administration's relationship with Japan and South Korea has been strained. Biden tried to repair it last year after ignoring the region for the first 2 years of his presidency. So, I mean, I don't want to blame this on Biden, but if Trump was president, I don't think this would have happened.
No, and it's important to note that we have almost 30,000 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea. So if there's this standoff here, you've got parliament, you've got military, you've got the president, you have to wonder what type of threat level that our own troops are facing right now, Fred. And obviously, that's something Washington, D.C. has to be taking into account as well at this hour.
That's exactly right. In the unlikely event this became a full-fledged civil war or some type of conflict against the government, Americans in the country would be at risk. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is that we're going to see South Koreans coming to the streets demanding Yoon's resignation and impeachment. And I think the troops will defer to the people.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.